All right, Brock Purdy reportedly is going to want to be at or near the top of the quarterback market. That from a couple national insiders today, including Tom Pelissero. This is not news. This is obvious stuff. Brock Purdy has performed at the top of the league when it comes to efficiency since he joined the NFL in 2022. And even if he weren't at the very top since 2022, even if there was a slight slip in efficiency because of factors around him, as we've seen here in 2024, Brock Purdy would still be in the mix for a contract at the top of the market. That's just how this stuff works. What people are trying to make controversial is actually absolute common sense, where when it comes to actual decision makers, there will be no controversy involved. Jed York already spoke on this at the owners' meetings last year. His quote was, "The quarterback market is the quarterback market." He's right. The market is the market, and the 49ers will pay Purdy accordingly. There's this big fallacy right now. People talking about $60 million per year, $55 million per year, $45 million per year. And it's people acting like they know what they're talking about when they say $55 million per year. Well, you don't know what you're talking about if you're just tossing those numbers around casually, because they're just simple averages. NFL contracts are not made or broken based on simple averages. NFL contracts are made by structure and how teams can structurally fit them under the salary cap. And the average per year often just includes funny money, garbage money that is not actually guaranteed, so it can be moved around in the future. It's a vanity number in the case of a lot of players. What actually determines if a contract is going to be good for a team and for a player and fit into the team's salary cap structure so that the team can sign other players and build a strong roster around the quarterback, what's most correlated to that number is fully guaranteed money. Yet I don't see anybody talking about fully guaranteed money. So as we approach Brock Purdy contract season, I think that I should give a primer on what to actually pay attention to. And this is the list of fully guaranteed money at the top of the NFL, the 5 most valuable contracts for quarterbacks in this category. Deshaun Watson tops the list. That's a deal that remains an outlier. $230 million fully guaranteed. Bad decision from the Cleveland Browns. Then Joe Burrow. Notice that Joe Burrow signed his deal after Deshaun Watson signed his following the trade to the Browns, yet it did not even come close to Deshaun Watson's amount of fully guaranteed money. $146.5 million for Joe Burrow. Trevor Lawrence, $142 million from Jacksonville. Lamar Jackson, $135 million from Baltimore. And Justin Herbert, $133.7 from the Chargers. Guess who you don't see on this list? There's no Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott actually leads all quarterbacks in APY. So many people, when they're saying, oh, Brock Purdy wants to set the market, how could he possibly want to do that? Well, if he really does want to set the market at APY, if he really does just want that number to make it seem like his contract is the biggest, not going to be that hard to match Dak Prescott's deal. But what actually matters in terms of the 49ers and their salary cap situation moving forward, and whether or not they're going to be able to fit this Brock Purdy contract into the overall structure without hurting the team, this is what actually is going to be more tied to that, the fully guaranteed money. So before people can even have a remotely intelligent conversation about Brock Purdy's contract, for which he's eligible in about 3 weeks, they need to understand that they're not even using the correct measuring stick when they start talking about money per year. NFL contracts are famously team-friendly. Deshaun Watson signed the first ever fully guaranteed deal that was this big. And you can see that the Cleveland Browns already regret that contract. In the NFL, it's not like baseball. It's not like the NBA. These players will sign contracts that have loads of money on the back end that is not guaranteed, meaning that the team can get out of paying that money. And that money is still included in the average per year, which is where people come up with numbers like $60 million per year, $55 million per year. The team is not tethered to that. So it's really important as we get ready to analyze what this Brock Purdy contract is going to look like, because trust me, it's happening. The 49ers are not going to be influenced by emotional fans who don't know what they're talking about when they say, oh, they're not going to pay Brock Purdy. These fans don't understand football. They don't understand the market, and they're just saying stuff. The 49ers and Purdy are going to get this done. The price point is way more complicated than people are trying to make it out to be. So the first thing that you can look at to understand this at an acceptable level is the fully guaranteed money and the scale amongst quarterbacks who have already signed their deal. Where's Purdy going to end up on the scale? If I had to give you a preliminary prediction right now, he's probably going to end up right around where Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence are. This is going to be a deal well north of $100 million in fully guaranteed money. There's inflation at the position, but also if the 49ers want to keep Brock Purdy under their salary cap, they actually stand to benefit from more fully guaranteed money. Because, and we can show Jaylen Hurts' contract, for example, as a good illustration. Let me get Jaylen Hurts' contract off of Over the Cap. I'll take a screen grab and I will explain the triple option bonus structure that actually helps a contract and its individual cap hits fit into a near-term cap situation. What we call it is surfing the wave of the salary cap. The Eagles have done crazy void year stuff with Jaylen Hurts' deal. Looks like void years all the way through 2032 for Jaylen. And the Eagles are playing really good football right now. That's a team to watch out for. By the way, my Super Bowl prediction remains Bills against the Eagles. So here you go. This is Jaylen Hurts' contract. It's worth over $50 million per year. But you've got cap numbers. I'm just zooming in on the cap numbers year by year of what year are we in right now? 2024? Okay, so that's the second row. Last year, $6.1 million. This year, $13.6 million. 2025, $21.8 million. 2026, $31.7 million. The cap numbers, I mean, he's got a $97 million cap hit, but it's not until 2029, a void year. So what the Eagles have done and what the 49ers have done too, they do this with all their big deals, and this is just going to be taken to the extreme because it's a quarterback deal and it's going to be the largest contract the 49ers have ever given out. They stiff arm the cap hits into the future. How do you do that? Well, you give out massive signing bonuses or guaranteed option bonuses that are by rule prorated against the salary cap. So say that you gave out a $50 million signing bonus. You have to prorate that for the term of the deal for up to 5 years. So that would only count against the cap $10 million per year. $10 million over the $50 million signing bonus for Brock Purdy would count against the cap in 2025, another 10 in 2026, 27, 28, 29. You stagger it like that, and you could work with these bonuses and small base salaries to make it work. So in that way, the fully guaranteed money makes much more of an impact on the structure of the contract. The APY doesn't make an impact at all because the APY is only a representation of the total money. You look at all the total money here, and then you divide it by however many years the contract is going to run, however many years aren't void in the contract. That's how you get the APY. And that's going to include all the non-guaranteed money as well. It's very important to only look at the fully guaranteed money to understand what the deal actually looks like in terms of team or player friendliness when it initially comes out. The 49ers and Purdy are looking to hit a win-win. They can absolutely hit a win-win at 60 or even 65 million APY. There's no way to know with only that number. That's why arguing with this one number is so pointless, because you're not even opening the hood to look at the engine of the car. It's like trying to evaluate what's wrong with the engine of the car by just looking at the windshield. You're looking at the wrong part of the car. You got to open up the car to look at diagnose the actual contract, diagnose the issue at play. So social media is going to simplify this over and over and over again. But this is not about 60 million APY. That's going to make the headlines. It's going to make people feel good about their arguments, but they'll still be wrong at the end of the day because they won't understand what they're actually talking about. This is what I put up in the text titles. Purdy's deal won't be about APY, but APY is all anyone can talk about. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous at this point. Contract structure is going to be everything for Brock Purdy, and it's all going to come down to fully guaranteed money. Now, there's no question that San Francisco is going to pay him. That's why all these reports that are coming out show such a, the way that people are reacting to them as if it's breaking news just shows such an ignorance to how these contracts actually work. Purdy has a demonstrated floor and ceiling. The QBR top 10 at the moment, and QBR is probably our most sophisticated statistic to isolate quarterback play from team play, which is something that is impossible to actually fully do, but we try our best to do it. Brock Purdy, despite the fact that the 49ers aren't playing well and that he's coming off his worst game, I think, of this season, is number 7 in QBR. Josh Allen, fantastic year, number 1, on his way to being the NFL MVP. Lamar Jackson, number 2. Joe Burrow, great year. The team around him, unfortunately, especially on defense, hadn't been good. He's number 3. Kyler Murray, look at Kyler Murray and what he's doing. I think the scrambling for Kyler Murray really helps him in this stat. He's obviously really hard to catch. He's number 4. The rookie, Jaden Daniels, that's big respect for a rookie to crack the top 5 in QBR, number 5. Matthew Stafford, who, just like Brock Purdy, wasn't good the other night. Matthew Stafford was arguably worse. He served up 3 potential interceptions that the 49ers didn't catch. But despite the ups and downs this year, Matthew Stafford is at number 6. There's Purdy at number 7 in QBR. Jaylen Hurts at number 8. Jordan Love at 9. Now, Love, we'll see if he climbs a little bit after the win against the Seattle Seahawks. They're wrapping that up right now, followed by Patrick Mahomes at number 10. Mahomes on the ankle. That's going to be something he has to fight through, but he has not been great this season. Kansas City has won a lot of narrow games, so Mahomes has slid down to number 10. But Purdy has already shown his performance ceiling. He was the number 1 quarterback in this ranking last season. So when everything was set up for the 49ers in a much better way than it was this year, Purdy has shown that he's top 1 efficiency. I was about to say top 5, but he was number 1, and he led them to within a play of winning the Super Bowl. In fact, the 49ers losing the Super Bowl, Purdy was not very high up on the blame list of that game. There was a lot of other things that went wrong, and right for Mahomes on the other side that led to the Chiefs winning the game. Any other quarterback than Brock Purdy, than somebody drafted at 262, say it was a first rounder, second rounder, third rounder, hell, maybe even a 4th or 5th rounder, but any other QB in his situation who would theoretically put up the track record that Brock Purdy has from 2022 to 2024, and that is the top efficiency in all of football, and come back in the NFC Championship game, come back in the NFC Divisional Playoffs, toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Any other quarterback would be a shoo-in when it comes to the national discourse for a top-of-the-market deal right now. It wouldn't even be a debate. The only reason that it's a debate for Brock Purdy is because of this thing that we call draftism. And we see it happen time and time again with Brock Purdy. He does some of the most impressive things that we've seen out of any quarterback in any given game on the football field. Even this year, in the down year, Brock Purdy has done that. Think about the throw to Christian McCaffrey against Tampa Bay, the throw to George Kittle off schedule against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. Or just this last week in his worst game with pressure bearing down the middle, Brock Purdy did something like this. This is not a normal play. I mean, he does this on a regular basis. You could look at the tape. You could look at the numbers. Anybody not drafted 262, third round or above for sure, there wouldn't even be a discussion about the probability of this contract happening. This is a social media construct. It is an online troll construct. The 49ers are not dumb enough to fall for the emotionality of these arguments. In the National Football League, especially a franchise that's gone through Tim Rattay. I don't want to shade JT O'Sullivan's name, but he was on the long list of quarterbacks that didn't work out for the 49ers. Troy Smith. I mean, there were long dark ages. Even Alex Smith. I mean, there were dark ages with Alex Smith, and he didn't get up to becoming a top efficiency quarterback. The best the 49ers saw from Alex Smith was in 2012 And that was before he suffered the concussion and Colin Kaepernick took his job. And I don't even think he was in the top 5 of QBR efficiency that year. I'll have to look to see where exactly Alex Smith finished in 2012. But in 2011, this is a quarterback that was like ranked 15 to 20 in QBR. Jimmy Garoppolo played some good seasons for the 49ers. In 2017, Jimmy actually finished ranked number 1, but he only played 5 games. So the sample was small. His other seasons, this was like an 8 to 12 QBR guy for the 49ers. So Garoppolo was good. Nobody was saying he was elite. He was a good quarterback. He made the system work for the 49ers, won some games on his shoulders. The results in the win-loss column were solid for San Francisco. He got hurt a little too often for the 49ers to be able to fully depend on him. Then you had Brock Purdy gallop in and grab number 1 QBR, something that no 49ers quarterback has sniffed since QBR came out. Like QBR is this proprietary stat that ESPN has used to quantify all of these quarterback categories, trying to isolate quarterback play. Didn't exist back when Steve Young was the quarterback. So the 49ers finally have a QBR leader, like very top of the league in Brock Purdy in 2023. They have a guy that was able to go toe-to-toe with Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And I think most importantly, they have somebody with a demonstrated performance floor now. Like you can't think of more things to go wrong for the 2024 49ers than have gone wrong. So that's the entire structure around Brock Purdy. There's always this talk about, how's he going to do when everything crumbles around him? Well, he's doing pretty fine with everything crumbling around him. He's number 7 in QBR. I think a lot of people need to be reminded constantly that this is a team sport and that any quarterback in a team sport is going to need a good team around him to succeed. And that includes the top quarterback in the game this year. That includes Josh Allen. If you think that Mahomes is the top quarterback in the game because of championships won, fine. Look at what happened to Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 55. His offense scored only 9 points. He was sacked countless times. He had one of the worst Super Bowl performances in history from a statistical standpoint, and it's because he didn't have a strong team around him. Then offensive line was hurt. So every single quarterback is going to need a supporting cast. It's a team sport. So the key, because the 49ers' only logical move here is to pay Brock Purdy, the key is to pay him with a structure that allows them to continue building the team. And that's what I'm here to talk about. How are the 49ers going to do that? Here's the salary cap situation. I keep really, really close tabs on this because this is the key to answering so many questions about how the 49ers do operate. First off, they've got nearly $50 million in space this year. Second off, any unused space carries over from 2024 to 2025. So I just toggled over to the 2025. According to my sheet here, they have $23 million in space for 2025, but that's with Purdy still on his old cap hit, $1.12 million, and with only 33 players under contract. So they're going to have to sign a bunch of guys, Purdy included, because that's happening. It's obvious it's happening, barring some kind of catastrophic injury. You can knock on wood there. Nobody wants to see injuries. That's happening this offseason. They're going to have to find a way to fit under the cap umbrella for the 2025 season. How do they do that? Well, we go back to a contract like Jaylen Hurts' contract, where he's got multiple option bonuses. As you can see, the prorations are changing every year. They're kicking in on a staggered structure. He's got a signing bonus worth about, I think, $20 million based on what I'm eyeballing right here. And it's like an accordion. The Eagles have stretched out the cap hits for Jaylen Hurts over the years. This is what the 49ers have done with all of their big money deals. This Purdy one is just going to be the biggest because the QB market is the QB market. You look at leverage in this situation, and you thought that Brandon Ayuk might have had some leverage last season. The 49ers obviously had most of it. Ayuk eventually had to come around to the deal that the 49ers had on the table for 3 weeks. Well, the quarterback position has ultimate leverage. I think that the biggest leverage that we've seen up until this point from a 49ers player in a contract talk with the team was Nick Bosa in 2023. And ever since Bosa got hurt, you see why. The 49ers defense was not good. It was terrible right after Bosa got hurt against Seattle, against Green Bay, and then against the Buffalo Bills. So Bosa, he's got high value on the defensive side of the ball, but no position is as valuable as the quarterback position. And we've had so many demonstrations of this. The 49ers with Brock Purdy in 2022, then the 49ers after Brock Purdy's elbow blew up in the NFC Championship game. The 49ers in 2023 as a top flight team, thanks mostly to their MVP finalist quarterback in Brock Purdy. You've seen the with and without Brock Purdy also in a one-game sample this season, and I think it is very apparent how valuable he is. Quarterbacks can overcome stuff. They can't overcome everything, but to an extent, they can overcome stuff, and it's tape like this. I'm going to pause it here. Aaron Banks is already losing. This is pressure up the gut. There aren't more than 4, 5 quarterbacks in the league who are going to make this play. That's insane pocket awareness and quickness. Another pause. And then an anticipatory throw to Ricky Pearsall over the middle. I'm only showing one clip right now because it's not smart to get bogged down in individual plays. That is why we have statistics, so we can look at the aggregate, because anybody can point to a great play. Anybody can point to a bad play. How are quarterbacks doing on the aggregate? Well, there's Brock Purdy at number 7 in QBR, which historically for every single quarterback that has come up for a contract has been good enough to be at or near the top of the market. This is not rocket science. This is how football business works. And it works that way because quarterbacks are extremely hard to replace. In fact, there are only about 20 people on the planet who are trained and developed to play the quarterback position at a competent level. And even a competent level is not enough to play it at a consistently winning level. So there might only be about 15 guys in the entire world to play quarterback at a consistently winning level. Brock Purdy is obviously one of them. But when there is such a short supply of talent at such an important position, and quarterback has been called the most important position in sports, it creates a market that is very in favor of the player. So if Brock Purdy just goes and says, well, if the 49ers aren't coming anywhere close to market rate for my services, and I've already demonstrated this value to them, he's demonstrated immense value to them over the course of the past 3 seasons, he can just hold out like Brandon Ayuk, and then the 49ers would be completely tanked, even more than they were this year for the 2025 season. So that's why you just get this business done. If anything, the 49ers, because there's not going to be the championship markup because they didn't win the Super Bowl in the 2023 season, because the 2024 season obviously hadn't gone great around Brock Purdy, they're not going to have to pay this crazy premium. They're not going to have to pay something that, if you really want to look at APY, that could push it to 65 or 70 million per year. But this is still going to be on the scale of top contracts in the league, minus the outlier. Nobody's understanding what the Cleveland Browns were thinking when they paid Deshaun Watson $230 million fully guaranteed. But the QB market is the QB market. The quarterbacks have it cornered. Quarterbacks have control in these things because of how important the position is in the modern game. And that's what whether you like it or not, this is the scale that we're working on. This is the reality that the 49ers are living in. And I think they're more than happy to live in this reality because Brock Purdy has proven to be such a stable force for them at that quarterback room. He's shown the ability to win off schedule. He's shown the ability to win deep. He can throw to all parts of the field. One thing that they're going to have to be really careful about is, he did have a shoulder injury this season, some shoulder soreness. Did his zip on his throws or look the best that it has in his career this past Thursday against the Rams? No. He also had the elbow reconstruction after the 2022 NFC Championship game. Before you do commit the big money, you have to make absolutely sure that his arm is going to be live. It's going to be electric for the foreseeable future. And you have to make sure that whatever, afflicted him a couple weeks ago is just going to be something that might be causing soreness for this season, but is not going to be an issue moving further into the future. Those are all obvious things. Those are obvious due diligence things that the 49ers will do. But as far as playing the position, the 49ers have a guy that can do that at a very high level, and they have only one logical move here. There's a lot of fabricated drama. You don't just let the quarterback sit there and wait for a deal, because he could also just sit there and wait for a deal before he decides to play, and then, your whole season is tanked. So there's a reason why teams have been getting these deals done after year 3 for these quarterbacks. guys on this list are much less accomplished than Brock Purdy. He's made it to a Super Bowl. Burrow's made it to a Super Bowl and lost there. Deshaun Watson hasn't made it to a Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence hasn't come close. Lamar Jackson hasn't made it to a Super Bowl. Justin Herbert hadn't come close. Brock Purdy's been number one in QBR. The other quarterbacks on this list that have been up at number one in QBR are Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. Nobody else has been a number one in QBR. Purdy has the lowest, or the high, I should say the highest floor in demonstrated performance of this group. These guys have all been down in double digits as far as their lowest quarterback rankings in QBR. Brock Purdy has been as low as number 7. That's where he is right now when we illustrated this. So there's so much emotionality in this. So many people saying, oh, well, we watch the games. We see this. It's like you watch the games with an untrained eye. You're watching the games through the lens of a fan. You're not watching the games through aggregate, raw, hard facts. Every single quarterback in the game goes through ups and they go through downs. Every single quarterback in the game is dependent to some extent on the team around him, and that is a large extent for every single quarterback. And there's this whole notion of the grass is always greener on the other side, which is why the backup quarterback is the most popular man in every single NFL city. But the business of football and the reality of football just does not work that way. And when we talk about Brock Purdy, we need to bring people back to that reality, because the only way that you're talking about the situation the way that you are right now is because Brock Purdy was picked number 262 and you have an inherent bias against him because you think that he should be worse than he actually is. But the truth is that he is who he is. And this season, that's been this. And if we want to go, why don't we go to the performance since 2022? This is always really fun to do. We can go to Ben Baldwin's website, click on quarterback statistics, filter this to 2022, maybe do quarterbacks with at least 600 plays since 2022, refresh the page, and here we go. So this is, this is good. We've got quarterbacks. Jacoby Brissett makes the list too. These are QBs since 2022. If we want to just go efficiency per play, Brock Purdy leads the way. Josh Allen is hot on the trail here. He's not far behind Brock Purdy, but there have been two quarterbacks and everybody else when it comes to efficiency leading the league since that 2022 season. Purdy at number 1, Josh Allen at number 2. The top 5, Tagovailoa, Mahomes, and look at Jared Goff performing well within the structure of that Detroit offense. All of these guys paid big money. Brock Purdy is not going to be any different. When it comes to success rate, oh, look, Brock Purdy at the very top. That is expected points added in the positive. At what rate of plays has that quarterback delivered that have been plus EPA plays? Brock Purdy has been there. Completion percentage over expectation, Purdy is number 8. Look at Sam Darnold leading the league in CPOE over the past couple years. That's fun. He plays on the Monday Night Football tomorrow. Josh Allen, a little less accurate according to this than Brock Purdy. How about the EPA plus CPOE composite, combining both? It goes Purdy and Allen as your 1, 2 in the league. And even if you're going more along the system argument, and I know Tua Tagovailoa gets that a lot. Well, Tua has gotten paid near the top of the market as well. So, I mean, it's just insulting to people's intelligence to talk about discounts and deals that are about half as large as the top of the market. That's not how the market works, guys. And you could just accept it. Brock Purdy has been a good quarterback. Brock Purdy deals with a lot of the same issues that other quarterbacks deal with. There are going to be occasional bad games, but he's actually had fewer of them than essentially anybody that's ever played the game over his first 3 seasons. So that's just a reality check. So the Packers beat the Seahawks. I know I started before the game ended because I know that people probably were a little bit impatient. Final score 30-13. Funny, the 49ers beat Seattle 31-13 last year in Seattle. When I watched Green Bay, I'm like, yeah, that team is playing at a high level, just like the 49ers were last season. San Francisco, not at nearly as high of a level this season, but it's got to be, simultaneously frustrating for them. And they're two. This is what I wrote up on Twitter. I said, on the one hand, NFC West mediocrity, because Seattle did lose, has to be frustrating for the 49ers, because if you reverse just one blown loss, they're right in the thick of the NFC West race. But on the other hand, the division has made hardly any progress. Like a team like Seattle is still a mediocre team, even at 8-6. A healthy 49ers team with better fortune will almost certainly be favored to win the division in 2025. I think, it's all but mathematical elimination for the 49ers right now. At this point, if you start thinking about strategy for the 2025 season, if they can come back rested and healthy, not coming off of 60 games in 3 years, and just have just a small bit of better fortune, like it wouldn't have taken all that much this year to be in a better spot, I think, in the fortune department. We're talking about schedule, off-field stuff, injury luck, all that stuff. And I get it. Some of that is tied into the amount of wear and tear that the 49ers went through over the past 3 years with the 60 games. So that may not be a variable either. But if you take off some of the strain that the 49ers have had to deal with this year, they should immediately be in much better position entering 2025. The first thing I could think of is a backfield of a healthy Christian McCaffrey and a healthy Isaac Guerendo. I don't know if Jordan Mason will be back as a restricted free agent, but I could think of McCaffrey and Guerendo, and I could say, damn, 49ers going to have a fresh backfield. That in and of itself could be a major, major boon for this football team. They got a lot of decisions to make. How are they going to fill out their staff? Who's going to be available? How does Kyle Shanahan bounce back and make the improvements he needs to make, because he hadn't been nearly as good this year. The play caller ratings have been much worse for Kyle Shanahan. There's a whole lot of work to do and certain weaknesses to address for the 49ers. But they also have a whole lot of guys under contract and a strong roster, and a roster that should be much healthier entering the 2025 season. And that should put them into decent position. So the Seattle loss today could have been frustrating for 49ers fans, but I think it's also an indication that the NFC West was simply mediocre this year. That's a good sign for the 49ers. You didn't have any team really explode out of the division this year, and that gives the 49ers an ability to essentially come back healthier in 2025 and hold serve. I have another Purdy graphic for you. Green is good, red is bad. This is Brock Purdy's career performance through all the games in 2022, all the games in 2023, and all the games in 2024. The amount of red on here is so minimal. People are always going to be prisoners of the moments. They see 2 of the last 3 games hadn't been pretty. The game against the Rams was bad. I mean, both of these were weather games, Buffalo and the Rams. I get that, but they haven't been good. I get it. But again, you cannot lose sight of the forest because you're staring at a tree. And when things were lined up well for the 49ers in a team sport in 2023, Brock Purdy put up a historically good season. We're talking about efficiency numbers that rivaled the best that we've seen from Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning in 2023. 2022, he came out of the gate awesome. And the only red in there is when he blew up his elbow. 24 has been good as well for Brock Purdy. He hadn't been great, but we can understand why. He's not a perfect quarterback, but nobody is. So I'm just sitting here telling you the objective truth. This is the analysis of the quarterback market. These are facts above feelings, and the facts are screaming in the face of anybody who analyzes or is involved in this situation. So there you go. The QB market is the QB market. Mike, what's going on? Thanks for sending me some of the Jaylen Hurts stuff. Checking with Mike to see what he wants to talk about right now. Mike, back in Visalia. I'm in Nashville right now. 49ers will practice tomorrow. It's a bonus practice, so it's not like an official practice for Dolphins week. The Dolphins did lose today, so they're 6-8. They lost to the Houston Texans. So it's going to be Kyle Shanahan against Mike McDaniel. two coaches who aren't getting much good press at the moment. That's going to be happening at Hard Rock Stadium, the site of the 2019 Super Bowl. It's going to be happening on Sunday in Miami. I got to fly back to San Francisco and then all the way back across the country to Miami. I'm going to pick Margot up in Nashville on the way back. So it's going to be it's going to be a lot of flying. Well, United 1K status is coming up this week. I'm super excited. I needed 54 flights on United over the course of this year, and I am at 52. So two more flights, and I'll be there. There's this really cool app. It's called Flighty. I have it up on my phone here. I could maybe show the camera. The camera's a little further away, and maybe I need to keep it by my face. Yeah, there you go. So Flighty will show everywhere that I've flown, the ring lights reflecting. You can see this big crisscross of flights around the country, around the world. And then you could actually break it down into your 2024 flight passport. So I've taken 71 flights so far this year. I don't know if you could read that. And 106,000 miles. I've been in planes on flights for a total of 10 days and 18 hours this year. 32 airports. Not bad. Anyway, not all of that is United. I needed to get 54 on United. So they give me the status that I'm looking for. 1K. It's like 1,000-yard season. I'm going to be on 1,000 flight season, or the equivalent of that in what do they call it? Premier qualifying points. Anyway, we got to get Flighty to sponsor the show. We're going to send this to them. That was just my idea right now. I want that app for free. I just talked about it. The flight market is the flight market, just like the QB market is the QB market. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Lombardi Lounge today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Lombardi Lounge. So today we talked about the APY fallacy. Get the APY fallacy out of your head. This is not going to be an APY thing when it comes down to the nuts and bolts. People will talk about APY because it's all they can talk about, but Purdy's contract structure is going to be everything. And contract structure is most rooted in fully guaranteed money. I don't think this touches Deshaun Watson's deal, nor should it. I mean, the Deshaun Watson's deal is an outlier. It's going to remain that way for quite some time. But we've seen the recent top of the quarterback market anywhere between 133 and 146 million. That's for Joe Burrow. And that's where you can expect Brock Purdy to land. Then you can expect the structure of the contract to look something like Jaylen Hurts' deal. The 49ers will be able to keep the cap numbers down in initial years. Even if it's a massive deal, they'll be able to keep them down at probably something like 7 or 8 million, something like 15 million, 22, 23 million over the first 3 years. That will be well within their cap structure. How do I know? Because I actually study this stuff. I don't just talk about it. I study it. And I see that they've got 23 million in 2025, but they can carry over nearly 50 million. It's going to add up to about 70 plus million. And I know that they can even push other money forward. The salary cap is rising. That is the 49ers' friend as they play financial Tetris. Every single dollar is going to matter, but that's every single dollar of fully guaranteed money. I think that San Francisco will be in good position to get this done based on how successfully they've surfed the cap already and how they can structure Brock Purdy's deal under a growing cap moving forward. Because like it or not, it's going to happen. And if you don't like it, you've probably been emotionally fooled on the internet with a lot of people acting like they know about APY because that's all they can talk about, and thinking that Brock Purdy somehow, even though all the facts say otherwise, even all the tape says otherwise, some people just can't put two and two together, and they don't understand that the market is the market. So let go of the emotions, look at this with logic, And when we look at this with logic, there's only one place it can go, and that is 49ers are not going to be stupid about this. They will pay Brock Purdy, who's been a really damn good quarterback for them, and then they're going to move on with their lives trying to build the best possible roster around him. It's NFL common sense, pragmatic thinking. A big contract at or near the top of the market will not necessarily blow up the 49ers because they know how to structure deals. And if you can structure a good deal, you can hit a win-win. The goal for the 49ers and Brock Purdy is to hit a win-win. He's going to be eligible for a new contract as soon as the regular season ends. So buckle up. We'll see where it ends up, but I can essentially guarantee you that common sense is going to prevail over a lot of the talk that we see on social media.